So this is my final presentation by Therese Howard, and this is for my world literature class, and today is May 12th, 2019. This presentation consists of a character analysis with two characters. The first one I'm going to present is Alibek from the Decameron by Giovanni Boccaccio. And the second character that I chose was Lucy from Disgrace. The first character is Alibek. And Alibek was a young girl from a short story on the third day of the 10th story. And Alibek had a few characteristics that we found in the story. Her characteristics were her characteristics consisted of her being naive, passionate, and vulnerable. Within the story, Alibek was on a mission to be just as religious as her neighbors. She was young when she went on this conquest to be just as religious as her her peers and her community. Alibek shows her naive characteristics when she goes to the new city of Tobias seeking how to become holy. She is basically adventuring by herself alone, a young woman doing this to seek an opportunity. So she's really unaware of her surroundings, she's really unaware of what's going on. So this is kind of an issue, especially when you're a young traveler. So she's changing her environment. She's no longer within her community that she is so used to seeing. And she's basically entering a new part of the world, hoping to learn some new information so she can feel the faith of God, like her community. So she's entering, a new environment with this naive characteristic. The second characteristic that I found in Alibek was that she was quite passionate. She was passionate about providing service to God, and she was passionate about seeking Christianity in its purest form. Alibek was young and wanted to be holy, so she asked for advice on where she can learn to be the holiest. And like I said from the last slide, she literally went and pursued this notion of the city of Tobias being the holiest city, and she just went there. So her passion was extremely clear, and it ended up in her being communicated with by Rustico, who is a male character within the story that I did not do an analysis on. He was the guy who basically tricked Alibek into thinking that having sex with him was completing an act of God. So basically, with this passion, the passion led her to being vulnerable, right? And the way she was vulnerable was she was literally a simple maiden, aged perhaps some 14 years, moved rather childishly by a whim than any real vocation, and set out on a trip by herself. And the vulnerable characteristics that she had literally led her to her believing in a story, which was the story that Rustico provided with how she could be of service to God. And he thought of a plan to enjoy her color of servicing. He came up with the story of putting the devil, which was his penis, in hell, which was her vagina, and by doing that, she was completing service for the Lord. This girl was so passionate and so like naive that she wanted to perform the act. She was determined to do or to be of service for the Lord. And she started calling to put the devil into hell by herself. Like she called for the act that Rusico taught her. She called for it, like afterwards. So these are the characteristics of Alibek that I picked up in the story that was told by Giovanni. Now I'm going to introduce Lucy, who is the character in Disgrace. She was the daughter of David Laurie, and David and Lucy did not have the strongest relationship as she grew up. She At first she lived with her parent. Well, both of them were together, but her parents got divorced, and she lived with her mom. And then when she got her new stepdad, she wanted to live with her actual father because she did not like her her new stepdad. So like they grew up. Well, he raised Lucy, and once Lucy was of age, she broke off and she lived her own life. And at the part of the story I'm going to talk about with her characteristics, I'm going to talk about specifically the end of the book, Disgrace, because I feel like that shows her characteristics like on a prominent level. Okay? So I'm going to basically show the connection of vulnerability and passion that the two characters had, Alibek and Lucy. So Alibek had vulnerability in a whole sense to where she was in a new situation and she basically was seeking information that not yet had been provided to her. So she was aptable to basically accept anything. And she was also, Alibek was also passionate about her her Christianity, her service to God, providing a service to God. And in this story, Disgrace, Lucy had vulnerable characteristics as well. She was a country woman that was assaulted on her own farm. She was actually at her farm with her dad, and at the time, intruders came in, beat up her dad, and raped her. So she's considering at this point, her vulnerability shows in the book because she's considering marrying her former sharecropper Petrus after the incident because like she no longer feels safe at her own farm. So she has to get protection, male protection, from Petrus, who used to be her sharecropper but bought property like literally next door, and now his farm is thriving. Like he has a lot of cattle and he has a wife, like he's established. So she basically wants to, well, it's mutual. Their relationship is mutual. And she wants to get married to Petrus so she can have protection and not have intruders come in and rape her and kill all of her animals like how they did previously. Another vulnerability that Lucy has is that she's pregnant. She got pregnant by the rape that happened. So now, not only does she have to take care of herself, but she has to take care of a baby that's growing inside of her. So she literally is at this low point in her life to where she's not secure enough. Like even the gun that she had could not protect her from the dangers that occurred. So she's left in this vulnerable state, just like how Alibek was left in her vulnerable state when she trekked and went to Tobias, the holy city, to literally find how to be of service to God. And lastly, I'll talk about the passion that Lucy had in the story of Disgrace as well. Lucy and her father, towards the end of the book, that were not on the same page for the most part. Like, even after the rape, Lucy and her father were not on the same page. So I'm going to highlight the passion that Lucy had because Lucy loved being independent. She loved making her own decisions, and she didn't want to rely on her father's influences or decisions anymore. She basically said, David, I can't run my life according to whether or not you like what I do. Not anymore. So I cited that within the book, and it's crazy because it's like she's blatantly, like, it doesn't care about right or wrong. Right or wrong is literally her way or David's way, and she can no longer do David's way anymore. And even when David asked her to leave the farm and come stay with him, just because she was assaulted on her own farm, her response to him when he asked her what she wants was basically, I don't know. But whatever I decide, I want to decide by myself without being pushed. Because there are things you just don't understand. That's exactly what Lucy said. And she still remained so passionate about her independence. Like, she was so steadfast and convicted to where it messed with her daily life, her lifestyle. Like, she did not go back to where her father was at, or like his land. Like, she did not go back to his home. Like, she was not going there by any means. She was going to stick it out, even if she was living in the house with a former sharecropper and her new rapist. Like, she was going to stay there, then to go back with David. So, like, I really thought that was interesting. They're passionate. Well, sorry, not their passionate. Their passion and their vulnerability. Both of these characters, Lucy and Alibek, throughout the story, they're well, not in Lucy's story. I feel like Lucy's vulnerability came out towards the end because she definitely gave me the independent vibe at first. Like, I really thought if things were to go down, Lucy would be the one to hold it, like hold down the fort, her farm, and really use that gun that she was talking about. But when it came down to it, she still had these characteristics that just would not, ultimately let her break through that vulnerability. And now she was stuck. So her and Alibek, basically, they're in the same place. Like, they have a lot of characteristics that are similar. And I hope I basically explained that in my final presentation. Um, and these are my bibliography sightings that are listed. Thank you for listening to my recording.